What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next we're going to go over the biggest comic deal I have ever done. It's a big trade deal, and as part of it I am trading away 3 of my top 10 keeper books. So this is a big one. So stay tuned. I think there's going to be some awesome books. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So what I'm going to do, because this trade deal involves quite a few books, I'm going to actually break this up into 2, if not 3 videos. So this first video here, what we're going over are how that trade got set up and then the books that I am trading away. So like I said, there's some big ones in here. 3 of them are really in like my top 6, so even more than my top 10. But I'm trading away 5 books and I'm getting 50 books in return. And so the way this worked out was that the person that I'm doing this trade with, I've sold them a number of books in the past. We've actually also done one other trade previously on a smaller scale. And he is looking to consolidate. So he has a lot of books that he wants to reduce down to a few bigger books. Now, normally, like I've talked about on the channel, I don't normally do trades. I've only done a handful of trades in a few years. And generally the reason for that is if I'm going to be selling a book, I'm not going to do a trade at value for value. It's just not worth it to me because I'll just have to put that same book up for sale. I'm out shipping costs and everything. So there has to be a benefit to me to actually do that trade. I have to get additional value in return to do that trade. And also in this case, when I'm trading 5 books for 50 books, it's a lot less work to sell 5 books than it is to sell 50 books. I sell mostly on eBay, and it just takes a lot more time making listings, all that kind of stuff. So how this trade all worked out was that he reached out to me and he had said that he was looking to trade some books away, and he wasn't thinking that we would actually do this large trade at the start. He thought maybe I would just trade 1 book. There's actually one that he was interested in, and that's kind of what started off the conversation. I said, oh yeah, I was actually thinking of putting that book up for sale. And that book was this one right here, Haunted Thrills, number 530, just incredible skull cover. And the funny thing is, this one didn't actually end up being part of the trade. It was part of the trade initially, but then something happened, which I'll go over a little bit, and that changed things up, and we have some different books that ended up as part of the trade. So that was what really kicked everything off. Was he was interested in that book. I said, hey, send me your list, and I'll go through and see if there's anything I might be interested in trading for. So I started looking through that list. There were a number of books that I was interested in, and so we started talking about it. And he was saying, he's like, basically, the more books you take, the better the terms will be. So, I'll get more value out of the books that I'm giving him if I take more of the books, because then it's less work for him to have to deal with, multiple trades or selling any of them or that kind of thing. So started really thinking about it, and I was like, well, maybe we can make this thing work. Maybe I can put together, options that are enough value to make this whole trade work out. And so ultimately, because I'm making this video, we did. And so how it all worked out was that I priced out all of the books that he put in his list, and I had my value. He priced them out as well, and we were actually within just a couple percent of one another. So that's a great place to start, because a lot of times that's where things will fall apart, is if people are valuing their books differently. And so that was when I saw that, I was like, okay, we probably are going to be in a pretty good place with this. Then I gave him my list of books that I was willing to trade and what I valued them at. And we were, again, very close on those values. We had a couple things, just like with the other one, that we had a little difference on, but for the most part, we were very close in those values. So then once we were all in agreement on values, he gave me basically the terms that he was willing to do for the trade. So if I was taking, this much value in books from him for all 50 of his books, he would take, this set value in my books, so that a smaller number. And so then he would pick from that list until it added up to that value. And that's how we got these 5 books. Now, it's kind of interesting how it worked out, because one of the books that was on there, I had Detective Comics 225, the first appearance of Martian Manhunter. And while he was reviewing these, the book sold. Like, it was up on eBay. I'd had that book up for probably 2 months, and like in the few hours while he was reviewing this list, that book sold. So I messaged him. I was like, hey, that one's not on the list anymore. And he was like, oh, that was one of the ones I was looking at. And so that kind of was an interesting little thing that just happened. You never know when certain books will sell, and that was one of the things that put a little hitch in the trade at first, but we were able to work this out. And that's actually what ended up having me add another book to the trade that I was not planning on trading away. So that was just kind of how things ended up working out, and how we got to these 5 books. All right, so now let's go over these 5 books. I've got them from, the lowest value to highest value. None of them are low value books though. So the first one that we've got here is Chilling Tales number 15. So this is a Matt Fox cover, cool pre-code horror cover, a book that really kind of blew up over the last couple of years because there had been some big sales for this book. So it's got these, the super creepy, ghouls or demons on the cover that are just dragging this guy off to hang him. So I just always thought this was a real creepy cover. 3.0 presents well, does not have any, like big pieces out of the cover or anything like that. But yeah, so he's really, like I said, gotten into Golden Age, likes pre-code horror, that kind of thing. So this is one of the books that he had been interested in. He had been interested in looking at into this run, and so had this book. And so this is one of the ones that ended up being part of this trade. So that's the first one. Now the next one, this is actually the book that this one got added in a little bit later. Well, it was part of my original list, but originally he was going to be, taking the Haunted Thrills 5. This was one of the deal maker books. Like he really wanted that one, and so that had to be part of the deal. But then he ended up picking up a different copy of that book again while this trade was going on, while we were talking about terms. And so same type of thing. When I had the Tech 225 and that disappeared, then he ended up getting another Haunted Thrills 5, and so we swapped one out. Now, he had said he would still take that book because we had made the deal at that point, but I said, hey, if we've got another book that you'd rather have, I don't want to make you have to deal with, then selling that one. So we went back to that list, and he ended up picking this book, which is actually one that he had been interested in, that I'd had listed for a little while on eBay before. So worked out well there. So this was Startling Comics number 20. And this is an amazing cover. I bought this book raw, had it pressed and cleaned by the comic book presser, the person that I've talked about on this channel a number of times that I have do my pressing and cleaning, and got it submitted and got this a 4.5, which is a really nice grade for this book. Also off-white pages. This book seems to be a little notorious for having low quality pages in the graded books. Like you see a lot of brittle or slightly brittle copies. This one's actually off-white, so nice page quality, and this cover just has everything going on it. So it's 1943, so it's a World War II era cover. You've got the the hooded Nazi villains on the cover that are fighting Pyro Man. You've got him, melting this guy's knife like it's butter. Then you've also got the good girl type bondage art in the back where she's being wrapped up by a snake. It's just there's so much going on this cover that it's just incredible. Like you'd almost think it was a Schomburg cover, because Schomburgs usually have just tons of stuff going on them. But yeah, just an incredible cover with Pyro Man, with the hooded Nazis, the snake bondage, everything. So this is the second book that he picked up, and just an incredible World War II book from the Startling Comics run. So yeah, so that was the second book. Now we are into the top 3, and so these ones were all the remaining 3 are all from my keeper list, all in my top 10 of my keeper list, or like I said, in my top 6 for my keeper list. First one, this is Startling Terror Tales number 11, a 4.0, off-white to white pages, so great page quality. This is a classic LB Cole cover. This is basically the ramped up, more violent version of Suspense Comics number 8. So Suspense Comics number 8 has the same Spider Skull character on the front, but this one, he's added blood to him. He's also a little larger. He's more of the focal point of this cover, and you've got the heads on the cover and everything. Colors are really nice on it, bright reds, and like I said, a 4.0 is actually a tough grade in this book. Usually it is much lower than that. I have a 1.8. That I really like, and then I got this 4.0 as my upgrade. So this was my upgrade that I had bought for that 1.8, and but yeah, so this was one of the other deal maker books. This one had to be part of the trade, and so he's getting the Startling Terror Tales number 11 classic LB Cole Spider Skull cover. Then next one, This one was the one that was not going to be part of the trade, and I ended up adding it in to basically like make this trade work out. And because the reason was that I had put a number of books on that list, but there were two of them that I said it's one or the other. I didn't want to trade away both of them, and I ended up trading away both of them. It's this one and the next one. This is just a ridiculous grade for this book. This is Astonishing number 30 and a 6.5. Now, if you haven't seen this book before, I've shown it on my channel a couple times, but like when I got this one, as well as the lower grade copy that I bought raw and had graded. This is a Joe Maneely covers from Atlas, so the precursor to Marvel, and just one of the most violent Atlas covers, if not maybe the most violent Atlas cover from the pre-code horror era. You've got, these eyes on the cover that are just melting this guy. And I've talked about this before when I've talked about this book, that the interior is just as bad, if not worse. It's basically these eyes that walk around, they have tentacles, and they come out of the ocean, and they just melt people in the city. I mean, it is a creepy story. Like, it's not like there are some where if you look at, say, Punch Comics number 12, the really popular skull cover, a lot of the interior of that book is like kids stories. It's like little kids stories. This is not little kid stories inside. This is very adult, violent stories. But yeah, so Astonishing number 30 and a 6.5 is just so difficult in this book because of the black cover. Almost every copy I've seen is usually very beat up, especially along the spine. You'll get a lot of color breaks, but the spine on this book is just, it's incredible. I mean, this book is an extremely nice presenting 6.5. It is just an incredible presenting copy. The back cover, but yeah, so this is one of those that I know that trading this one away, it is very unlikely I will come across one in this grade again in any type of reasonable time frame. They don't come up for sale, especially not in this grade. And so this is one of the real big ones that's part of this trade. The biggest one is coming up next, but yeah, Astonishing number 30, awesome pre-code horror Joe Maneely cover from Atlas. And that's one of those where I've talked about Atlas, that a lot of the Atlas books I feel are kind of like under the radar, just don't have the don't get as much attention as some of the other titles, but this is an example of one that does. that one has gotten a lot of attention. So now, this is actually the one that's, of all the books that I'm trading away, this one will definitely, I know this one's going to sting the most. I just feel like it's unlikely I'm going to get this book back. I had wanted this book since I first saw a copy a number of years, maybe 3 years ago, maybe it came up on Heritage or something like that. And so finally got one. It was a really nice copy. And man, all right. So this one is All Top number 16. So this is this classic Matt Baker cover where you've got the octopus, which actually just has 7 tentacles, not 8, but the octopus, wrapped around Rula, the jungle goddess. And so the thing with this book is that this is, it's easily the number 1 book in this run, but this is also one of the top tier Baker books. So for example, an 8.0 of this book from the Promise Collection recently sold maybe a month or 2 months ago for just over $19,000. So that kind of gives you an idea of the value of this book. And this is a 6.5, but I'll tell you, this 6.5, it looks better than that 8.0. I get that the 8.0 is, has less flaws, but that 8.0 has a really wonky cut to it. If I find the picture, I'll throw the picture up there. But that 8.0 has a really wonky cut to it, whereas this one is extremely square. So you can just tell with the top, how everything is even on the top, the bar on the side. It's similar to the Bronze Age Marvel books where they have that bar on the top, and when they aren't square, you really can tell. And this one is very square. On the back, you just have a little bit of it showing on the back. And so a very nice presenting 6.5. That's kind of the trend here, is that this one and then the Astonishing 30 really present well for their grades. And so, amazing colors, really square, and just an awesome cover. And so this is one that I know it's going to be unlikely, at least in any type of reasonable time frame, that I'll get an opportunity to pick up another book like this, especially in this type of condition that presents this well. So this is the fifth book that is part of this trade. So kind of like the recap, we've got All Top 16 in a 6.5. We've got Astonishing number 30 in a 6.5. Amazing pre-code horror book. Another pre-code horror book, Startling Terror Tales number 11 in a 4.0. Then we've got kind of like the World War II cover content, Startling Comics number 20 in a 4.5. And then the last one that is part of this trade, this Chilling Tales number 15 in a 3.0. So those are the 5 books that I'm trading away. I've got 50 books that are going to be coming in exchange for these. So stay tuned for another video that's going to follow up after this, and we will start going over those books that I'm receiving as part of this trade. There's some cool stuff in there. I mean, this is a lot of value in books. So even though it's 50 books, there are still a lot of great books in that. I think range anywhere from around 2,400 on the upper end down to about 50 bucks on the lower end. So that's the whole thing. You know, it's like you're taking everything with this trade. And so yeah, there's some lower end books like that, but there's plenty of bigger books as well to kind of make up that value for these books. So really excited for this one. Hope you enjoyed. Saw some cool books all at once, and get ready to see some more cool books when I get the books in from this trade. If you'd like to see more videos like this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I've got more videos over here. I've got the subscription button right here, and I will see you in the next video.